Yeah, and they had a slow start looking into last weekend, but they looked towards that leadoff spot in Kara Canedo. She led the ASUN last year with 75 hits, which is why she was tabbed the preseason ASUN Player of the Year. So she's going to look to kickstart this offensive momentum for the Lady Flames against the Knights tonight.
We'll talk a lot about Liberty and who they lost in the Bishop sisters last year, but Dot Richardson still has a talented team. They'll face this Knights defense. Of course, Annie Garano had a big weekend there in left field. Denali Schoppacher, the right fielder. There you see Cody starting at third base. And then the starting pitcher, Kima Woodall, making her first start as a Knight, but not her first appearance.
No, not at all. Kima Woodall saw action in pretty much every single game last weekend. Just a workhorse in the circle. Last year, she carried 187 innings pitches. She is someone that you can always look to not just be able to carry that load, but be competitive. She's going to work that lower part of the quadrant with a heavy drop that she's also able to off-speed with a nasty changeup. So she's going to always look to try to feed her D and create some ground balls.
She picked up the win in relief on Thursday night. There was her line score against Georgia. Came in relief in the Minnesota game as well, and in the Fresno State game. Closed it out in the 7th inning for Caitlin Felton. But now she'll make the start. She's used to both starting and relieving, and I think that's a big weapon that Coach Paul Malone's going to use throughout the year for UCF.
She's just that player that looks to her coaching staff and says, give me the ball when you want to, because I'm always ready. She's a gamer.
Glad you can join us. It's a chilly night in Orlando in the 60s. Some clouds we were concerned about, but it's more of a cold front coming in. Glad you can join us wherever you are tonight here on ESPN Plus. The marquee game of the night. Two teams that have, of course, made the NCAA tournament last year have bigger goals this year. As Woodall will face Canedo. They both set to be underway. Liberty and the Reds, of course, Liberty, the ASUN champions. They were in the regionals in Knoxville. And if it wasn't for another, a play or two, they might have gone out of the Knoxville Regional, not James Madison, and they could have been the team that made a deep run to perhaps in the postseason like the Dukes did. As we're underway, first pitch for a ball when we're underway. Of course, the Knights made the tournament last year. This is part of a busy week for UCF, as we'll talk about throughout the broadcast. They'll be headed over towards Clearwater. And that marquee tournament, the Elite Invitational, which keeps getting stronger by the minute. Here's a bunt by Canedo, fielded by Griffin. Throw to first in time. And a good start for Ashley Griffin defensively there in the Knights.
Now, what a heads-up play by the UCF defense. I thought for sure the moment I saw Canedo square up that she was going to be safe because it didn't look like the defense was ready for some small ball, but able to come up quickly for the out.
That's a big out to get Canedo. She led the team last year with .385 average, the ASUN first-team All-Member. Now you've got Devin Howard stepping in. Howard, the starting third baseman, hit .312 last year for the Flames. As they're continuing their trip here in Florida, this is part of a 10-day trip. They'll be back to Leesburg, as a matter of fact, over the weekend to face more games before heading back home. Of course, Orlando, the home of head coach Dot Richardson. Two-time gold medalist in the '96 Atlanta Olympics and 2000 Sydney. And well, we talked to her yesterday. When to bring it up, coming back to Orlando, every time it's always special for her. Of course, did broadcasting locally before getting in, taking over the Liberty program. Of course, was an All-American at UCLA, part of the national titles in the early '80s. Just an icon in the sport.
I definitely remember being that young kid, like 7, 8-year-old, who watched her hit that home run, that gold medal home run. I just thought, oh my goodness, that's what I want to do one day.
In the '96 gold medal game in Atlanta, the inaugural softball Olympics, up in Columbus, Georgia area. There's a strike. And has really turned Liberty into a power. They were, like I said, a couple plays here and there, and they could have won that Knoxville Regional. They were ranked in the top 25 last year, first time in program history, ranked in the top 25 to start the year. 2-2 is fouled off. But they lose two of the greatest players they've had in the program, in Amber Bishop and Autumn Bishop, a combined 31 home runs and 87 RBIs. Not easy to replace, and this is a younger Liberty team here, as Coach Richardson told us.
Yeah, I mean, you have to try to figure out how do you replace that production, because you can't replace those two players, and she mentioned that. But you have to look towards the future. You have to remember what the foundation they were able to start, but how do we continue to build our program off of that?
There's a swing and a miss as Woodall gets the strikeout of Howard. 2 up, 2 down here in the first for Woodall.
This is what makes Kama Woodall so tough to hit, is that she can come in with that drop ball to where maybe you think about getting up in the batter's box to get it before it drops, but then she can come at you with that changeup. So then do you go to the back of the box to let you see it? But you can see she got that strikeout off of that drop ball. Just a tough pitcher to figure out where you need to stand in order to hit her.
First pitch, a strike to Caroline Hudson, the catcher, the sophomore, who was the first Liberty catcher ever in the program history to catch every game last season. 59 games, she caught them all.
I hope she's icing her knees after those games.
I think she'll be all right. Because comes from a great family athletic background. She hits one to first, right to Doherty, who will touch the bag to end the inning. A good start for Woodall and the Knights as they set Liberty down in order. Head to the bottom of the first. We'll see Jada Cody will come to the plate for the Knights when we can return. No score here from Orlando. The leadoff spot will lead off followed by Kennedy Searcy, and of course Jada Cody, their star player for UCF. She had an incredible weekend, and then Shannon Doherty in that cleanup spot. So we'll see how they do against Kirby in this matchup. And of course Schoppacher to lead it off. Moved to the top of the spot on Saturday. Did very well. And Coach Bowman decided to keep her that way. It's funny how a tweak or two and coaches are very happy with it. First pitch a little bit high, ball one, 1-0 the count.
I like Schoppacher at the top. You know, she's that type of leadoff hitter that's able to do so much, whether it is going to be hitting it hard up the middle by reading the defense or maybe just dropping that bunt down. But the biggest thing that sticks out to me for Schoppacher is that she had 2 successful stolen bases over the weekend. So if she can get on base, she's going to look to turn 2 quickly.
1-0 is a strike, and it's 1-0 in the count. Schoppacher top 6 all-time at UCF and on-base percentage, batting average. Approaching that in runs scored. 398 on base in her career. So just about everywhere you would expect in a lineup. Yeah. The senior takes for high for a ball. Of course, a Tuesday, a midweek. As we're just starting week 2 of the season. How much of an adjustment is that for a player playing that first midweek game? You know, now you're still involved in classes. Is that a big adjustment at all? It sounds strange. You're used to playing it in high school and things, but it is a different environment midweek versus a weekend.
I mean, the biggest thing is trying to quickly switch into game mode, right? Getting that mentality ready to go out and play. You have to try to tackle on, okay, I have class at this time, I might have study hall at this time, but then once you show up to the field, the biggest thing you have to do is forget everything that just happened and then focus on the game.
2-2. Nice. Schoppacher hits it up the middle, and it's off the glove and into the outfield for a hit. As Schoppacher gets on here to start.
And that's that power I was talking about. You see that the middle is in, expecting her to do a soft slap or maybe slap right to her, but instead she's able to punch it right through, up the middle. And that is just athleticism and being able to read your defense and having strong barrel control. And again, she has a lot of speed, so you're going to see Coach Cindy Baum-Malone allow her to maybe call the stolen base on herself or maybe put a hit and run on or a bunt and run on with Kennedy Searcy.
Schoppacher 2 for 2 on the year as Searcy at the plate. First pitch to Kennedy is a strike. Of course, Denali over the weekend became the 8th UCF player ever to have 50 or more career steals all time. Among the players that she's passed is Stephanie Best, one of the few records she doesn't have offensively. Searcy with the bunt. Kirby, a lefty, will field, throw to first in time. Sacrifice bunt for Kennedy, advancing Schoppacher to second with 1 out. Bring up Jada Cody to the plate. Of course, Cody, 4 for 6 with 8 RBIs on Saturday doubleheader in the wins over Fresno State and Longwood. 6 for 12 on the season with a homer and 8 RBIs. Was on the honor roll of the American Conference this week.
That's not easy to do. Opening weekend, 8 RBIs.
Yeah. Set the tone with a 3-run homer in her first at-bat in the bottom of the first against Fresno, and really set the tone after that tough loss against Minnesota. You and I called that game. You know, Coach Bumalo and the Knights players said they weren't like as locked in as they thought they would be. They kind of didn't make adjustments till late in that game, and they said they were going to come out ready to go on Saturday, and they did. Cody setting the tone, and that's one of your best players' jobs, right? Set the tone early, and that's what she did.
Well, I think when you look into that weekend, she's really emerged as the leader in the lineup. Of course, yes, you have the senior leadership in Shannon Doherty, but you always want to be able to have that player that you can look to who's going to come through every single time, and Jada Cody is showing the Knights that is who she is, that dependable player.
Pitches away, 2-0. Kind of going away here from Cody. You do have an open base at first. We'll see how much respect they show Cody. Of course, Kirby, the reigning ASUN pitcher of the year, 15-5 with a 1.92 ERA, had 9 shutouts last year, part of a 1-2 punch in the circle for Liberty. Goes inside there for a strike, 2-1 the count.
You're going to see that pitch a lot from Kirby, that changeup. She predominantly throws a rise-change combo. Her rise ball has not had as much bite so far this season. She's still trying to feel it out. She's been working a lot in the bullpen, trying to get that late-minute break with her rise ball. So you're going to see a lot of change be used more than you've normally seen from her.
Cody swings at the 2-1. It's fouled out of play.
That was something even Coach Richardson talked to us about prior to this game, is not sure if Kirby's going to get that start because she doesn't feel super confident in that rise ball. They wanted to make a game time decision, see how she looked in the bullpen, and she looked strong, which is why she got the start tonight.
2-2 the count. Schoppacher at second, 1 out. It's Kirby's pitch. Again, it's fouled off to the right side. It's so early. It's a weekend in, 3-4 games in. How much is it, as a player, as a hitter or a pitcher, to be careful not to overreact to maybe a slow start? Because it can get to your head, right? Because the numbers kind of glare early, but it's early, 3-4 games. If you had a couple of games rough spot like in March, it would be unnoticeable. It's a 2-2. It's fouled off.
I think it's really hard when you're always that player where all the eyes are on you and you think people are expecting me to be better. People are not expecting me to fail. They're not expecting me to maybe not have all my best stuff. So it can kind of snowball mentally, but you have to trust your process. You have to trust your work ethic, and most importantly, your coaches, and try to silence that outside noise so you can work on your craft and try to get it better.
Pitch is high, it's full, 3-2 the count to Cody.
And I'm not saying Emily Kirby's in a slump by any means, but, you know, she said she doesn't have her best stuff right now. She's still working on it. And the best thing that you can do is truly minimize the noise outside. You know, get off Twitter, get off social media, and just stay within your teammates and try to grow.
The payoff pitch, Cody hits it off Kirby's glove to second. The throw to first is in time as Crane makes the play. Schoppacher advances to third, but there's now 2 outs with Shannon Doherty now coming to the plate.
That almost plated a run for UCF if the pitcher Kirby did not get her glove up to try to deflect it to the second baseman. That could have been trouble for Liberty.
Right, because if that ball doesn't hit her glove, it probably goes up the middle of that hole and probably gets through. And with Schoppacher's speed, she scores as is. It went right to Crane, who's such a reliable error at second base. And now Doherty takes high for a ball. 1-0 the count. Doherty 3 for 12 on the year with a home run, probably the most seen, heard, known home runs of the young season. If you spend any time on social media, you probably ran into it a few times.
Yeah, I think it went viral, right?
That's the word they use, yes.
Go you, first game of the season, going viral.
2-0.
She should put that on her resume.
Probably. Major League Baseball picked it up. I mean, it went everywhere. The 2-0, and it just shows for the exposure that the sport has, where that, it's marquee. That was the marquee game of the night. And it delivered.
I think exposure and appreciation and respect for what she was able to do. Extra innings, first game, going up against UGA, and then just hits a bomb. You don't need to be a softball fan. You just need to be a sports fan to realize how big that is.
Takes a strike there. It's 3-1. You're right. That highlight transcended softball. It was everywhere. It was in the local news here. I mean, it was a big deal.
Take a look at this last strike that was thrown to Doherty. It's a 3-0 going right down the middle as Kirby's trying to find that strike zone against the big bopper.
That one misses away. It's a 2-out walk to Doherty. Runners at the corners for Janisha Rowe, but there's a case there where maybe Kirby a little extra careful with Doherty with her power, showing the respect.
Batting fifth, center field number 7, Janisha.
So Janisha Rowe getting up here. Of course, come over from Florida Gulf Coast. Gets a chance to hit here with 2 on, 2 outs in the first. Rowe 2 for 7 so far this year. Also lefty-lefty matchup here. Kirby probably feels more comfortable facing the lefty Rowe. One is high, ball 1. See Shoppacher at third base. He's got good wheels, and of course you got Doherty at first. A single and a walk in the inning.
Come get it, Rachel.
The 1-0 pitch. No shows bunt. Doherty will take off. Liberty won't throw. Now they'll let Doherty take second because they're more concerned about the runner at third with 2 outs.
Yeah, just your classic first and third play, trying to get that runner to get to second base, but can you bait a throw from the catcher to then potentially produce a run from third base? But Liberty just being safe, let her take second, got the ball back to the pitcher, Kirby.
Wow. 1-1 is inside for a ball. 2-1 the count. Especially with 2 outs, you don't want to, if you execute, doesn't matter how many where the runners are in score position, just get focused on the hitter.
Yeah, I mean, that's a play that you practice when you're 10 and under softball. And from an offensive side, it's how can we try to create confusion amongst the defense to produce that run?
The 2-1, low and in, ball 3, and it's 3-1 now the count to Rowe.
Yeah, very impressed right now with the UCF patience up in the box. They're really forcing Kirby to bring the ball into the zone as home plate umpire is not calling anything outside of the zone.
UCF walked 10 times on Thursday night against Georgia, did it again against Longwood on Saturday night. As Rowe swings there and fouls it off. So this is a lineup that is not afraid to just take some pitches. They're going to make you throw strikes. They want to erode the pitchers, make them throw everything they have, especially early.
Let's go, Kirby, right here, kid. Right here, kid. Let's go, Kirby, 3-2, baby.
The 26th pitch of the inning for Kirby is high, ball 4, and they're loaded. A walk to Rowe, 2 walks in the inning, and a big spot for Maddie Bejarano with 2 outs and the bases loaded.
And as a pitcher, that's one of the hardest things is when you give up back-to-back walks and you're already struggling with your number 1 pitch. Her number 1 pitch is that rise ball. Again, we mentioned she doesn't have as much control over it as she used to. Her next best pitch is a changeup. She can throw that curve on the outside.
First pitch Blows that one past Bejarano. Just says, I'm just going to throw this and throw as hard as I can and see if you can hit it.
And that pitch needs to give her confidence right here. This is her bread and butter. You see, yes, it's down the middle, but that late minute break, that is where she lives. So gain confidence off of that big first pitch strike.
The 0-1 pitch. Missed high, ball 1-1 the count. Bejarano 4 for 8 on the year with 4 runs scored, hitting first career home run on Friday night against Minnesota. He's moved up to the 6th spot here tonight. Playing with a lot of confidence. You're in a big spot early in this game. The 1-1 is tapped foul. And now Kirby ahead 1-2 of Bejarano with the bases loaded. 2 outs here in the bottom of the first. Just underway. Between the Knights and the Flames. Part of a busy week. Week 2 this season.
Come on, Kirby, right here, babe.
And that hit Bejarano. And that's going to get the first run of the game. And UCF takes a 1-0 lead as Schappacher scores, and Bejarano takes one for the team.
Now, we just mentioned the patience that UCF is showing right now, and Bejarano had some good swings, was able to battle a little bit, but that pitch just getting away from Kirby. It's going to plate the first run of this game.
Batting 7, catcher number 27,
Ashley Griffin will hit here with still bases loaded and 2 outs. Knights with a 1-0 lead here in the first, and now Griffin. Doherty at third, Rowe at second, Bejarano at first. Takes a strike, 0-1. How hard is it for a hitter to stay disciplined, especially with bases loaded, right? Because as a hitter, you could get excited, right? You just want to drive all those runs in.
Yeah, and that's when you have to have like a little self-talk before you get into the batter's box and remember what the game plan was, what zone that you need to stick into, and just remind yourself of what that game plan is so you don't free swing too much.
Griffin fouls it back. It's 0-2.
Taking it from someone, I love to free swing. And sometimes I would give myself that luxury if I thought, okay, I don't have anything to lose here. If I see something that's somewhat in my wheelhouse, why not swing big? What's the worst can happen? I swing and miss, or maybe I just miss it, but then I get to learn something from it. But when you have 2 strikes, then you need to shorten up, then you need to stick to your plan. But sometimes you can have that luxury of saying, hey, I'm just going to swing.
Nice.
That one's fouled off. Remains 0-2. I think your approach worked out pretty well for you. 3-time All-American, among the many records over there at Florida, right there at the top.
It's just something that you always have to think about, especially knowing the complexion of the pitcher that you're facing. If I know that that pitcher likes to get ahead with a first pitch strike on the outside corner, or it's going to be something fast, maybe sit and wait on it.
That one's outside, ball 1, 1-2 the count. You can just sense Kirby's just trying to find it, right? So we're finding that spot.
And this is her second time where she's had a batter where she's gotten to 2 strikes as well. So she had Bejarano, had 2 strikes previously, but then she hit her. So this is her opportunity to try to get herself out of this inning and get some confidence out of it.
She gets Griffin to ground to second to Crane. Crane will throw to first, side retired. But the Knights get a run on a hit. And look, it's early. I think the UCF would be the first to coach ball with Malone would tell you that this is not like a big deal right now, be ranked, but still, always not a bad thing to have a number next to your name.
Not at all, and I think it's something that the program deserves. I mean, they've had a lot of big wins last year. They didn't make it as deep in the tournament as they wish they could have last year. Even Coach Cindy Malone had mentioned she feels like they underperformed last year, which is crazy to even say given the talent that they have. But she is someone who's always hungry and ready for more. So when she sees that, okay, we're ranked good, we should be, watch how much more we can do.
That one hits Lou Allen, the transfer out of Michigan. She gets on a hit by pitch. Of course, Liberty was in the top 25 last week as Allen gets hit here.
Yeah, you can see this pitch is just getting away from Woodall. And you can even see the catcher, Griffin, was set up on the outside part of the box, and that pitch actually trailed inside. So a little bit of a missed pitch right there, not hitting her spot.
So a hit by pitch. Now, Carly Keeney, the DP, who's also their number 2 pitcher, will step in here. She takes low for a ball, 1-0 the count. Of course, Liberty was in the top 25 last week. They were in that 24 spot, go 0-4, but again, they played in Leesburg, tough field. They played Kentucky, they played Northwestern, played Iowa. Tough start, and talking to Coach Richardson, that's part of the thing they're getting used to now, is when you're in that top 25, there's a there's a kind of a target in your back there.
But she also said, hey, it doesn't matter where you start, it's all about where you finish, and that couldn't be any more true. And she said, we're still trying to get our feet underneath us. We don't feel like we're all 100%. We're still trying to figure out the complexion of the culture of this new team. And that's okay. I can think back to a lot of programs who had a very slow start, maybe dipped down in the middle of the season, but then you look towards Oklahoma City and they show up and maybe they even win a national championship. Even look at, Georgia last year. Very mediocre during the SEC preseason, but then turned it on when it came to postseason.
Woodall's falling behind here, 3-1 on Keeney. Right, Coach Beth Torina, the LSU head coach, says, I want my team peaking in May, right? That's when you want to know, you want to be ready to go, not February. February is about learning what you have, testing yourself. That's the 3-1, as these two teams have done early, and they're going to. UCF got a busy week. We mentioned they're going to be in Clearwater. They're going to be playing 5 games. They're going to be playing a ton of games. They're going to be playing Wisconsin Thursday, got 2 on Friday, 2 Saturday, 1 on Sunday. It's a busy week for UCF here. And they added this midweek with Liberty, who was an NCAA tournament team last year. Payoff pitch. Fouled off. As a player, did you want to have a lot of games in right away, just kind of get into a rhythm? Do you like having a couple days in between games? Did you have a preference at all?
I love playing. You could have loaded me in all the games, all the practice, and I'm down for it.
So us media people make way too much of a, you're playing 5 games in 6 days and all that stuff. As that's grounded to short, Macario will have one player, will throw to first in time to get Keeney, which basically works out like a sacrifice as Allen advances to second on the play.
And exactly, you had Keeney fighting that entire at-bat, and she gets a little jam job here, so it's a slow roller, and the shortstop Macario only has one play because when she fielded it almost on the run instead of setting her.
Come to the plate, the freshman. I mentioned the busy week for UCF. This is the first of a total of 7 games this week, which is wild. But bring it, right? That's what Coach Paul Malone told me. So just bring it. And like you said, oh, wow, we got to play 7 softball games. Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, the team, the last time that they played against another competitor was back in, May?
Yeah.
And you just sit during all that time, especially if you don't make it to super regionals, you don't make it to the World Series. As a player, you're sitting at home on the couch watching your competitors, and that feeling stinks. It is not fun. So you were just waiting for this moment.
Pitch inside, ball 1. Want to know the count of the freshman.
On second, number 19, Lily Hydorn.
Lily Hydorn is the pinch runner for Allen. Remember, there's a re-entry rule in softball, so we'll definitely see Allen return, I'm sure, with her big bat in this game. The 1-0 is missed, 2-0. You get a sense early here, both pitchers trying to find that strike zone, get a feel for Carlos Guzman's kind of strike zone here early. Of course, Carlos Guzman, the home plate umpire, Anthony Small at first, Antonio Flores over at third. That's missed, 3-0.
We've seen a little bit of a different look from Woodall so far, trying to maybe offset that drop ball with her curveball that trends upwards with the rise ball as well, trying to get that top half of the zone. Sometimes it looks like she's just a little too fired up, so she's missing outside.
It's her first start as a Knight. There's a senior, played at East Carolina and NC State prior to that. Faced UCF a bunch last year, 4 times to be specific. Nearly knocked them out in the opening round of the American Conference tournament that was held in Tulsa. And Coach Paul Malone said she was impressed by going against her, the competitiveness that she brings. She gets a ball up the middle. Macario will throw to first in time. It's a second out of the inning, but Heidorn advances to third with 2 outs.
I love this defensive play right here from UCF. Either Goodall did it on purpose where she decided to go for it, but then took it back knowing that it might deflect, and then her shortstop, Macario, couldn't make the play. So her actually not getting that ball allowed Macario to make that clean play and get that out.
Rachel Crane at the plate. Runner at third, 2 outs. Part of this young infield for Liberty. We mentioned earlier, of course, the Bishop sisters graduated, and Coach Richardson told us, I mean, they're trying some things out up the middle. They're a little young, learning on the fly.
And I love how she said it. You can't replace those 2 superstars, but you need to find how you get that production back. Because when you have iconic players that leave the program, you don't think, okay, who can I get that can fill those shoes? It's, all right, who do we have that we can compile to come up and produce those RBIs and that leadership that we're missing out on?
Udall had 0-2 on Crane. And Crane lines one, caught by Macario at short. They call her Lala, but she just showed off the leather in that inning. 3 incredible plays, including this one, to send us to the bottom of the second. UCF still leading 1-0. You're watching the American on ESPN+.
They found me. Nice suits. You guys.
Presented by Wilson. Marquee field, 16-team field, 12 of them ranked in the top 25. 40 games to air on the ESPN family of networks. Check out SPC Elite Invite on Twitter for all the details. Some news today. The UCLA-Florida State game scheduled for Sunday night will air now on ESPN. It's been moved from ESPN2 to ESPN. Primetime softball regular season on ESPN Sunday night between UCLA and Florida State. Part of 40 games on the family networks. I know you're ready.
That's big time, that it gets elevated to ESPN.
Yeah.
Did you put in an email asking for that? I bet you requested it. And they listened, obviously.
I did ask.
Yeah.
I did ask about some of the games.
I mean, my weekend is booked, right? I don't know if I should drive down and watch the games on TV. That's my biggest issue.
Well, the issue is, like, you've got great crew like Beth Mallins, Michelle Smith, Amanda Scarborough will be there calling the game. Tiffany Green, our good friend, with Madison Shipman, our good friend. Drew Carter, Jenny Dalton-Hill, Mark Neely, and Danielle Laurie, who I spoke to this morning. She's fired up to be back in the booth after obviously, earning a bronze medal for Team Canada in the Olympics. Kayla Bro and Mike Cousins. And they're going to get to, most of those crews are going to be calling 2 to 3 games a day.
I mean, we talk so much about the players ready to come back and play and compete, but don't forget about our broadcasters. We're excited to get back and talk some softball and see some great players, some superstars coming up. And it all starts in that Clearwater Invitational.
Let's go, Carter!
Molina at the plate as the 2-2 is lined to right, foul. I mentioned 12 teams ranked in the field, including UCLA, who's ranked 3rd. Florida State's ranked 6th. Oklahoma State, 7th. Clemson's ranked 12th. Tennessee, 15. Michigan, 16. LSU, 22. Northwestern, 23. UCF, 24. Auburn, 25th. Washington, ranked 5th. Texas, ranked 9th. The only 4 teams not ranked, Texas Tech, Wisconsin, South Florida, and Notre Dame. South Florida and Notre Dame are getting votes, receiving votes in the poll.
Yeah, those are all teams right there that when you get to postseason play, you don't want to see in your regional. They cause upsets. So yeah, maybe they're not ranked right now, but those are teams that can any given day beat you.
It's the 3rd annual. I think it's the most stacked field they've ever had yet. It keeps getting bigger and bigger. You and I have been there. It's going to be packed, but, I mean, that is a World Series quality field as Molina draws a leadoff walk here to open the second inning for the Knights.
Yeah, and this is the third walk for pitcher Emily Kirby. Just still struggling to get into that zone and figure out what her pitch is. We've seen her strong with her changeup. She's been able to float that in for her strike. Maybe she needs to throw that pitch just a little bit more to try to get ahead of these batters so she can feel stronger in her arsenal.
Of course, Michaela Macario, who made those 3 great plays defensively, including that last out in the top half of the inning to hit here with Molina at first. Takes a strike. Of course, UCF, this will be the first time they're in the Elite Invitational. They've played in marquee tournaments like Mary Nutter before. But as you and I, you've been there, what can UCF expect entering that field? Because they're going to get challenged here. That's going to be maybe the marquee event of the weekend in softball and one of the marquee events in sports in general next weekend.
You just got to be ready to compete. You know you're going up against some of the toughest competition, and it is like a mini postseason. So it gets your mentality in check quickly of how do we prepare and how do we compete. And if you're too focused on the big name that's across from you on the other side of that jersey, then you're probably going to lose. But if you show up knowing what your team is capable of and sticking to that plan, you have a strong chance to come out of there with as many W's as you want.
1-1, ball 2, 2-1. Historically, that tournament, teams that play in that tournament have great seasons, postseason runs. UCLA, for example, 2019 won the national title. They usually do very well, and I think those teams we mentioned are expected to do very well. Of course, UCF will open on Thursday against Wisconsin with Kayla Conwet back for the Badgers. As Macario slices to right, Rupe makes the catch for the first out here in the second inning.
So here's that strong changeup from Kirby right here, and you got to put your hats off to Macario going down and lifting this changeup off of the dirt. Yes, it's an out, but if I am Macario, I'm taking that as a strong out, being able to get my hands to that changeup and recognize it.
1 out as Schappacher comes to the plate, singled back in the first and scored in the inning. Off to a good start in her senior year. Tries to drag the bunt down the right side, and she's out. Ball looked like hit her, and it's an automatic out. She tried to drag the bunt.
Yeah, that was tough for Schappacher right there as she goes down to put that bunt for the base hit. It's tilting towards first base, and you cannot let that ball hit you while you're in fair territory out of the box, and unfortunately, the ball found her body in that sense.
So runner at first still with 2 outs, and now Searseed at the plate. That's the big thing. Not only to an automatic out, but the runner goes back to first. It's outside, ball 1, 1-0 the count. Molina over at first, 2 outs here in the second. 1-0 pitch. It's a strike even at 1-1. Of course, UCF will also play Michigan up in Clearwater. Megan Bobian and Alex Tarraco and company. Michigan head coach Carl Hutchins, I believe, is like 4 wins away from tying Mike Condrea for the all-time wins mark in Division I. They'll face Texas Tech. Tennessee, ranked 15th in the country. 1-1 is hit foul down to third base. I recently spoke to Amanda Scarborough on the podcast I host nationally, and we're both pretty high on Tennessee. Ashley Rogers back. They added Aaron Edmondson to the staff, among other pieces. They're loaded coming back next year. Who's some of the teams you're looking forward to seeing Clearwater that you're kind of, I'm curious to see what they look like once I see them?
You know, I'm always really curious just to see how the teams are going to look at the beginning of season. I don't like to go off too much of how they ended in 2021 or how they ended their season. I like to see what they're going to look refreshed, new complexion. So it is one through everybody. I'm looking forward to see every team, every good softball game.
A lot of great matchups they'll meet. UCF will play Texas on Saturday night. Beth Mallins and Michelle Smith-Scarborough will have that game. Of course, UCF will play Florida State on Sunday, a rematch of the Tallahassee Regional last year. So you got the in-state rivalry there in a neutral site in Clearwater, which will be fascinating. A lot of UCF fans will be making the drive to Clearwater. I'm sure FSU fans, we've seen them, they'll drive up to Clearwater. It's an amazing time there. It's going to be tremendous. But UCF, of course, challenging themselves like they are tonight here against Liberty on the 2-2. That's behind. Did it hit Searcy? Yes, it did. It hit Kennedy. And a second time that that Kirby's hit a batter. It's 2 on, 2 out.
This is so tough for Kirby, as she really had Searcy on the fence there. Searcy could not barrel up many of the pitches that Kirby was throwing, and she just gets caught with that last pitch that goes behind Searcy.
Well, and that's significant because what it does is it allows Jada Cody to come to the plate here, Francesca, with 2 on and 2 outs. So that's a big spot. That's something to keep in mind there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you have to be telling yourself as a pitcher. I have 2 strikes against Searcy, who's only batting 125. I do not want to face Jada Cody, arguably the best hitter in this UCF lineup with a runner in scoring position. As you're going to see a little timeout talking to the pitcher, trying to get her to refocus.
No doubt. Try to get set here against Cody. You don't want it. You want to be on the same page when you face a Jada Cody. You know, spot like this.
Yeah, you're going to see the pitching coach, Paige Cassidy, go out to talk to Kirby and just try to get her to reset. Remember the good pitches that she just threw to Searcy and before that, Shotpocker.
The entire staff from Florida. This is like a homecoming for all of them there. Very unique. You don't see that as often. Of course, Dot Richardson made a name for herself here locally. Of course, went on to play at UCLA, won the national titles in the early 80s, part of the Olympic team, 96-2000, winning the gold. His first pitch to Cody. It's away, ball 1.
And this is what becomes really tough when you're facing this UCF offense is you have Jada Cody, but you can't pitch around her because right behind her is Shannon Doherty, someone who is known to be a huge producer in the last 4 years of her career as a Knight. And especially someone like Doherty is, you know, maybe she's not getting as many hits as someone like Jada Cody does, but she always comes through when her team needs her. It looks like Coach Richardson, is
not even gonna wait to finish the at bat. She's gonna go to the pen here. Looks like it's gonna be it for Kirby, at least for now. So she'll go basically 1+ inning responsible. And I think Dot Richards is saying, I don't want to fall behind by a big margin early here, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. So I'm going to go to the pen here. We'll tell you about who the new Liberty pitcher is when we come back. UCF threatening here in the second.
Innings, and maybe you go to Megan Johnson. Maybe you bring in Carly Keeney, Wagner to finish. So she already had this game plan of limiting as many innings that Kirby was going to see. I don't think she expected to take her out this soon, but she still had it ready and has a complete arsenal to throw at this UCF offense.
Right, the Liberty bullpen's still up, and she kind of told us, you know, they're prepared for anything. If they got to throw their staff today, make it a staff day, that's what they'll do. So it wasn't anything that caught off guard. I think they wanted to see how things go, and they've adjusted. And they called Johnson's number here to face Cody. 2-0 the count. She inherits the count with 2 on, 2 outs here in the second. There's a strike, and it's 2-1.
I mean, you're already seeing a huge defensive shift from Liberty right now. You know, Kirby, she threw from the left side, so potentially you get a lot of miss hits, a lot of soft ground balls. But now you have Johnson throwing from the right side, going up against a right power hitter in Cody. Defense is going to play back behind the bags.
2-1. Did they go? No, says the umpire. Antonio Flores over at third. So it's 3-1 the count to Cody. Plus, this is a different look for UCF. Maybe perhaps UCF thinking, hey, we might see Keeney, we might see Kirby, we might see even Wagner. Maybe they weren't, maybe kind of throw a little bit of a changeup, no pun intended here by Dot Richardson. As Johnson, also a senior veteran, who's used to being in this spot, just delivered that strike too. Big pitch here early. 3-2, 2 on, 2 outs here in the second. 3-2 the count to Cody. As Cody hits it to short, fielded a throw to first in time as the play is made to retire the side as Barrett make the play. So Johnson gets Liberty out of the jam. We're through 2 here in Orlando. UCF's #2 ranked scoring defense in the country, shutting down Jose Fernandez's Bulls offense and have a stranglehold right now of first place in the American. They'll be at home tomorrow, pink game. Here we're in the third, 1-0 lead for number 24 ranked UCF. Women's basketball just knocking on the door. They're 26 in the latest women's basketball poll. It's about to get fun here, Francesca. Yeah, women's basketball season's winding down here as they get into March Madness. Baseball and softball starting. As that ball is hit to right, Schappacher chasing it in foul territory, makes the catch to retire Barrett for the first out here in the third.
You're right off of the barrel. This ball had a lot of pop in it, but Barrett being late could not get her hands extended on that. Going to be an easy out.
So a foul out. As Schappacher, of course, is called right field, pretty much home there since she's walked on campus in 2018. Now Mary Claire Wilson, the center fielder in the 9 spot. And then, of course, Canedo will come to the plate as we get back to the top of the order. Here in the third inning, Knights with a 1-0 lead on a hit by pitch in the first. Maddie Bejarano scoring with the bases loaded. Getting hit there, driving in Schappacher. 2-0 the count. As Woodall, here's her 4th appearance already this year. That's foul tip, but getting the start here, but possibly a busy week. We mentioned a busy week for UCF, a lot of games. You're going to see the entire staff's going to get work, and Woodall is somebody they could depend on, in theory, throw every game in different variety of roles as a reliever or as tonight as we've seen as a starter.
Well, Coach Cindy Baumolona had said that past Gianna Mantra, she's not quite sure what the complexion of her pitching staff looks like. She wants to see what the best matchups are. Who does the best in front of lineups that are, late and heavy with lefties, maybe who has a lot of power. Kind of plug and play and put those matchups together. And that's why preseason, or excuse me, before conference is so important, because you get so many games and innings to figure those types of questions out.
Count is full to Wilson, with Canedo at on deck. She got her on the 3-2 pitch, got one outside and got Wilson to chase it outside the strike zone, and a strikeout for Woodall. That's her second of the ball game.
I think the most interesting thing we've seen from Woodall so far is that when she comes into relief, she likes to be down with that drop ball, use that changeup, but we've actually seen her set up her drop ball more by using a rise ball. So she was up more in the zone against Wilson, but able to get the strikeout with that bread and butter drop.
Now Kara Canedo at the plate. Grounded out back in the first. Of course, led the team in hitting, 385 last year. First team All-A-Sun member, 10 doubles. Had a .412 on-base percentage. Scored 38 runs. Kind of went under the radar because the Bishop sisters got so much of the attention, but Canedo really helped set the table for them last year.
And she wasn't complaining about that, too. She thought, hey, go after the Bishop sisters, and you can, think of me as that underplayer, but just feeding her strikes, and she capitalized.
Fouled that pitch off. It's 1-2. Is that an adjustment as a hitter? You know, you're kind of, now you're the focal point of the offense, whereas last year she wasn't necessarily the focal point because the Bishop sisters got a lot of the opponent's attention. Is that an adjustment?
For sure, and especially because now your opponents have the playbook on you. They know what your strengths are. They know what your weaknesses are. There's so much video out there now that people can prepare for you. You know, now she is that player that they're circling in that lineup. That's who they say, this is the player that can't beat us. That wasn't her last year. So now it's, okay, how can I elevate my game more to ensure that I'm coming on the winning side? And again, it's still very early. Still, this is the second week, haven't even gotten to the weekend of season. So still a lot of more learning and getting into that groove of season.
The 1-2, she taps it back to Woodall. Woodall throw to first. In time, side retired. Nice job by Woodall. Fielded her own position, works the 1-2-3 third. We head to the home half of the third. Knights leading 1-0. You're watching the American on ESPN Plus. Conference championship team. Home half of the third here is Shannon Doherty leading it off for UCF. Eric Lopez alongside three-time All-American for Chescanea. As Doherty will be followed by Janisha Rowe and Maddie Bejarano. Scheduled hitters 4, 5, 6. Against Megan Johnson, who came in relief. And Doherty greets her with a fly ball to center, but playable. As Wilson makes the catch for the first out of the inning. And Johnson's done a nice job here settling things down for Liberty.
Yeah, Shannon Doherty just missed this pitch. And I'm not sure if it's a changeup that Johnson is throwing or maybe an off-speed or a collection of both, because it's coming in at a slower velo than what you saw with Emily Kirby. And it's getting these UCF batters out in front. With that ball that Doherty just hit, she just got off the end of her barrel.
Janisha Rowe at the plate takes a strike. As a hitter, how long does it take you to adjust? You had Kirby, who facing a lefty, throws hard. Now you got Megan Johnson, a righty, a slower delivery. Kind of how long does it take as a hitter to adjust to that?
Sometimes it might take a few at-bats or really just a few pitches for you to really sit there and see that velo coming in because you're not used to seeing it at a slower speed. And then when she offsets it with her changeup, it slows it down even more. So a lot of the times, if you cannot pick up the speed naturally, you tell yourself, okay, maybe I need to start my swings later, start my gather later.
Pitch is foul. Count is 2-2. And communication, a lot of times we'll see hitters coming back after they're at bat and they'll maybe whisper something to the next hitter, right? Communication is a big part of, hey, this is what I saw, right?
Even if you go back to Jada Cody's at bat, she saw 3 changeups, and that last one that she decided to swing on, she got her foot down early and her hands were stuttering, still waiting for that ball. So that's the communication. She came back and told her teammates, you got to wait for it a little bit longer, try to see that velo come down. Try to read that change. Maybe start your swing later.
Rowe trying to get on here with 1 out in the third. As Johnson, risen again, fouled off.
Got good wheels, Rachel, come get it.
And of course, Coach Paul Malone told me that's one of the things. These hitters, you know, you got to get used to seeing different pitchers, different variation of pitches, off-speed pitches, changeups. He feels that's becoming more and more part of the game now, that more off-speed pitches now pitchers throwing. The days of just throwing gas only are over as they try to mix up the pitches. There's a fly ball to shallow left center as Wilson makes the catch and Rose retired for the second out of the inning.
You see, Megan Johnson's doing such a great job being able to produce these easy outs and these quick outs for her defense. You know, Kirby was falling behind and a lot of her batters going 3-2, hit by pitches, walked a lot of batters, but Megan Johnson's being quite effective so far.
Nice.
First pitch, here's a bunt. Coming in, charging, will be not making a play there as the Knights will get a runner on. It's a good bunt hit by Bejarano. Continues her excellent start to the year.
Yeah, and if you cannot get on time with your swing, why not shorten it up? Bejarano, seeing the defense is playing way back, that the third baseman, Howard, the moment she fielded it, she had no chance.
Did the smart thing, just held on to the ball there, right? Because the worst thing you could do is try to force the throw, and then if you airmail that, that could be extra bases.
And especially with the speed that Bejarano has.
Now batting, catcher number 27.
So now Griffin will come to the plate, grounded to second back in the first inning. She'll hit with runner at first and 2 outs. The young freshman steps in. She swings, fouls it off, and the count is 0-1. Of course, so much now in softball. Every team has so many different arms. They can throw you different looks as a staff. It wasn't like back in the day where you just, you knew, you kind of had an idea. Maybe there was one pitcher you were focused on, maybe 2 tops on a staff. As Griffin fouls it off the right side, and count is 0-2.
Well, we talk so much about the evolution of hitting has really come into its own these last, 4 or 5 years. So much technology that's out there, so much video, so much analyzing. But it comes down to how well that coach can communicate to their players and how to communicate to them effectively to where they can really capture it.
The 0-2 is a comebacker to Johnson. She'll throw to first to retire Griffin and the Knights here in the third. We are through 3 here in Orlando. On Friday, that'll be the 3 o'clock game on ESPN Plus. Texas Tech later that day on Friday. Tennessee on Saturday on ESPN Plus, and of course Texas Saturday night, Longhorn Network. That's a who's who ranks there, man. Wow.
So the question is, are you going to be on site watching every single game?
I feel as a broadcaster, I have to be loyal to our fellow friends, our broadcaster. I need to listen to Tiffany Green, Madison Shipman for Wisconsin. Drew Carter and Jenny Dalton Hill's going to be calling the Michigan, Texas Tech, and Tennessee games there for UCF. And then Mal and Smith, Scarborough, calling the Texas game. Hello.
I know. I agree. I really love being able to support not just the teams and the players, but our fellow broadcasters and tell them, hey, you guys are doing great. Doing awesome.
Tiffany Green and Shipman will call the Florida State game on Sunday against UCF, so they're in good hands there. So I want to be there in person, but then I want to listen to them as well. Now, some people are saying right now, well, couldn't you do both and listen on the phone? And I'm not the tech-savvy person.
That's next level.
That's right. That's especially that place will be pretty packed. I guarantee you, most everybody I just mentioned there is right now tuning in, listening to every single word you're saying and writing down what you're saying right now as they watch this game. Woodall fall behind here, 3-1 on Howard, who will be followed by Hudson and Allen. Of course, that'll be top 25 matchups. UCF ranked 24th, Michigan 16th, Tennessee 15th, Texas 9th, and Florida State 6th. The entire softball world will be watching in Clearwater in some capacity. As that's a ground out as second. And Molina makes the nice play, and Woodall getting that first out here in the fourth.
Now batting,
As Howard is grounds out. And what have you seen from Woodall here so far in her first night start? Gone through 3 1/3 so far here against Liberty.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it last inning, is that we're seeing a different type of arsenal that she's throwing when she is starting this game. When we've seen her come in as relief, she's been predominantly lower in the zone, utilizing that drop ball and that changeup. But now that she's been starting this game, she's been able to use that rise ball a little bit more. Her curveball has that late up break movement as well. So working on some pitches, and then when she needs to come in for that big strike, she'll come in with that drop ball.
Pitch fouled off.
And as a pitcher, you're always looking for your best pitch to be your strongest and your most consistent pitch. But when you can start slipping in your second best pitch, your third best pitch effectively, that just shows your coaching staff and the offense the depth that you have and how you have to be prepared for 2, 3 types of pitches.
Come on, Caroline, you gotta have that mindset, mate.
1-1 is low for a ball. 2-1 to count. One more note, the Wisconsin game, again, ESPNU on that one. Michigan, Texas Tech, and Tennessee games will be on ESPN+. Texas will be on the Longhorn Network, and then Florida State on ESPN+. So, of course, you can watch it on the ESPN app As that's grounded short. Macario was a hot shot there, and she'll have no play. As Liberty gets a runner on here with one out in the fourth.
Yeah, this ball was smoked right to shortstop Macario. As you can see, she tried to get it on the big hop, trying to take that drop step so it didn't eat her up. But it took that little hop, and she might have still had a play at first base, but chose to eat it.
So one out, runner at first. So Hudson is on. Or Hudson at the plate with Howard on, I should say. Takes there. And now actually Lou Allen. So we got right now Hudson on with Lou Allen and one out. Lou Allen, the most dangerous hitter on this Liberty lineup, transferred from Michigan. The 0-1. Allen was an all Big Ten performer from Michigan. Her grandma, Shayla Cornell, played with Dot Richardson at UCLA, was part of the 96 and 2000 Olympic team. So a connection there. Of course, coming to Liberty for grad school. Coach Richardson excited about what Allen will bring to the table, that veteran leadership. Big bat in the middle of the lineup. Her cousin was Jim Abbott, the former longtime Major League Baseball pitcher. Lefty, played at Michigan.
It's all in the genes there for her.
Yeah. Hudson at first. As the 2-1 is a strike. And it's 2-2. First, Dot Richardson was telling me about, certainly recruiting. Recruits still in this area in the state of Florida to grab players. But certainly he's recruiting more nationally as well at the success she's had at Liberty, winning the A-Sun championships. They're the favorites in the A-Sun as Allen drops a base hit to right. The first hit of the night for the Flames comes from Allen here in the fourth. And Liberty with their first threat of the night, 2 on, 1 out here in the fourth.
This is the first adjustment that we've seen from Liberty. You have Woodall, who is pounding her away, making the adjustment to stay within her legs and go opposite field to get this little rally started for them.
First hit allowed by Woodall. So an error and a hit in the inning with one out. And now Carly Keeney at the plate. There is action in the Knights bullpen. First pitch inside for a ball, 1-0 the count. See Gianna Mancha, who got the win against Monmouth on Saturday night. She's starting to kind of throw a little bit here. As, of course, Coach Richardson is coming out here. Of course, Aaliyah White graduated as the all-time leader in wins, complete games, shutouts at UCF. She's now the grad coach at UCF, and Coach Richardson was telling me she recruited Aaliyah hard. And actually, it came down between Liberty and UCF, and Aaliyah picked UCF. I asked Aaliyah about that. It's like when Dot Richardson wants you gotta listen to that. That's pretty high honor. But she decided to stay closer to home, obviously from the here in Orlando. Did Aaliyah, and it worked out quite well for her. Set up, rewrote the record books in the pitching categories. Now, being the grad coach there, hanging out by the bullpen, helping out the other pitchers.
Yeah, thank goodness for UCF that Aaliyah White chose to go here.
Yeah, you imagine that. And Dot said she knew she was going to be really good. And she knew she would do good things at UCF. It's the 1-0.
I think the biggest thing about Aaliyah White is that, you look at the record book, you look at what she was able to do from a stats perspective, but it's really the culture that she started here at UCF. And when Gianna Mancha transferred over to UCF, you had this question, am I two superstars going to go at it? But someone like Aaliyah White welcomed her in. showed her how it's done here, showed a very collaborative bullpen, how we work together as a team. And Gianna Mancha fed off of that and loved it. And now Mancha is being that leadership for UCF and is showing someone like Kama Woodall, hey, we're going to be working this 1 and 2 together. We need to be a strong bullpen if we want our team to go farther than regional play as we did last year.
2-1. Popped up, it's going to hit the ground. Molina's going to go third, and they will get the force out. Heads up play by Molina to get the force out at third. The veteran senior Molina there getting the job done.
Yeah, and because this ball is being hung up in the air, you're going to see the runners have to stay put to see if someone going to lay out to try to catch it, or are they going to let it bounce? So you see Molina decides to go to third base. You know, maybe you could think, hey, should I go 2 and try to twist it and then get myself out of the inning? But when your mind is made up of what you want to do, you got to stick with it so then you don't make an error. And that was a heads-up play by the second baseman.
Here's a strike to Rupe. She reminds me of a lot of somebody you've covered in Sofia Reynoso at Florida at shortstop, who made the smart play, knew what was going around her, was sure-handed. Seemed like to always make the right plays. Tim Walton would rave about her in every single play she would do at shortstop. That's kind of how Coach Ball Malone feels about Molina at second.
Yeah, and I love how Coach Ball says that she is a student of the game. When she's not practicing, when she's not playing, she is looking at videos of herself defensively of how to get better. She's looking at MLB videos of how to make better tag plays, how to be a leader out there, a quiet leader. So she is someone who's always trying to improve her game.
Not a lot of second basemen would have thought about going to third there and have the calm there. They would have tried to maybe force the throw to first. She was very calm and made the right play. And Woodall here ahead 1 and 2, trying to strike away with 2 on, 2 out, still first and second. 2 outs here in the fourth. He's right, who's been hot to start the year for Liberty, hits it foul. Battling here with the fourth inning. First time this game that Woodall has faced trouble and some adversity against this Liberty offense. 1-2. She jams her. That's going to hit the ground. Macario will have no play. That's an excuse me hit. Kind of hit in no man's land. And they weren't in Maryland. Joan Joyce and Florida Atlantic on Friday. Ohio State, which is off to a good start. Hofstra and South Alabama. So the schedule, a challenging schedule start for Coach Richardson there. For South Alabama NCAA tournament team. With the great ace, Leanna Johnson. Ohio State improved. UCF will play, host Ohio State later this year. And, of course, Joan Joyce still there at FAU.
Legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
2-0 the count to Molina. Did you ever face Joan Joyce in FAU?
I did, yes. We played some midweek games when I was at Florida. Super smart coach. Was always a little timid to go up against her because she just had all the information about you and of the game. You knew she could potentially beat you with that information.
Built that program tremendously. Of course, that FAU matchup, that will be a future conference USA matchup. Was going to be supposed to be a USA matchup, but Florida Atlantic's going to be joining the American in a couple of years. Liberty's going to Conference USA. All of that is still to be sorted out on when. We won't get into all that. A lot of moving parts coming here in the coming years in college athletics. Of course, UCF will be going to the Big 12 in a couple of seasons. 3-1. As Molina takes ball 4 and a leadoff walk to Molina here in the fourth.
Love the approach right there from Justine Molina. UCF hasn't really been able to get their timing off of Megan Johnson ever since she entered this game. So you had Molina who basically looked at her and said, throw me a strike. I'm going to take as many pitches as possible so that my team can see every single one of your pitches so that we can try to get our timing off of you.
So now Macario at the plate. Molina's got a steal already this year. throw to first. Nothing in. I think Liberty's thinking what I was thinking. You know, does UCF try to get going here on the base pads? Put some pressure on the defense. Here with Macario in the number 9 spot in the lineup, with Schappacher coming up on deck here in the top of the order against Megan Johnson. There's a bunt attempt by Macario. Now the count is 0-2, which will likely end any chance of a sacrifice possibility here.
Go finish him, Meg. Back.
There's Johnson getting some valuable work here in relief of Kirby. The 0-2. It's tapped back to Johnson. We'll go to second, and it's not handled, and everybody is safe. 2 on, nobody out for the Knights there on the miscue by Liberty.
Yeah, it's a tough play for Liberty. He had that come back so quickly to the pitcher Johnson, and you're going to see the second baseman Crane was set up on the other side of the bag while the throw was taking her away towards third base, so it trickles off of her glove. And that's just got to be something where, as a defender, that you got to be ready for whatever that throw is going to come from the pitcher. It's so hard for a pitcher to go from underhand, trying to go overhand.
Go, Meg. Nice.
And all of a sudden, it looked like you were going to have an opportunity to get a quick double play. And now you have runners in scoring position.
With Schappacher, the senior, at the plate. 1 for 2 tonight, singled back in the first and scored. And this gives the Knights a lot of options here with Schappacher and 2 on here. You could bunt for a hit, try to advance the runners. As she tries there, where she tried to drag bunt towards first base in that second inning. The ball hit her and she was automatically out. And now it's down in the count 0-2. So that takes the bunt option out for Schappacher. Now we'll try to maybe hit straight away. And she lanes it foul down the left side. So Molina at second. Macario at first. A walk and an error. Of course, Johnson has to put that last play behind her. Kind of focus here on Schappacher in the 0-2 as Schappacher fouls it off. I mean, that's, as a player, you just focus on that next play. Oh, 0-2 the count. Here in the bottom of the fourth. Knights with a 1-0 lead. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error for UCF. No runs, 2 hits, 1 error for Liberty. As he gets Schappacher, does Johnson for the strikeout. Big strikeout for Johnson for the first out here in the fourth, getting Schappacher.
Yeah, and way to come back and pick your team up after making that throwing error. Being able to get your first strikeout of this game against one of the better hitters in this lineup.
So now Kennedy Searcy will come to the plate. Sacrifice bunt back in the first, had a hit by pitch in the second. Still coming back from that ACL injury last year. You see the brace. It's a strike. Once you get to playing, you come off that significant of an injury. When do you feel like yourself? Do you feel like yourself? Does it take a while to feel comfortable back playing again?
I think you have to accept potentially what the new normal is. You know, maybe you won't be as explosive or dynamic as you used to be, but that doesn't mean you're not as good. You're still great. She is still great. But even like Coach Cindy Baum Malone said, she's not at 100% yet. But having her presence in this lineup gives her other teammates the confidence. They're able to look towards her. I mean, her presence alone, she's already had 3 walks on the season, hit by pitch. She's a smart ball player out there.
Hits that one to left, foul. Into the dugout there.
So she may not be as explosive as you're used to seeing her, maybe not as lethal, but her aura alone exudes a lot of confidence.
And all it takes is one big hit, and you feel like you're back, right? Like sometimes you can take something as simple as a hit, and all of a sudden you feel like you're right back at it. And she's down in the count 1-2 against Johnson. That is up high, 2-2 the count. Cody is on deck. Pretty sure everybody in the stadium is aware of that right now, on both sides. 2-2 pitch. Got her off speed. Megan Johnson getting Kennedy Searcy back-to-back strikeouts. 2 gone here in the 4th.
I mean, Megan Johnson's ability to change speeds is what's been so crucial for her with that circle change that she's flipping into that zone. Searcy saw it, but still unable to keep her barrel behind it. It's the same pitch that she was able to get Jada Cody out in her previous at-bat.
So Cody 0 for 2. Swing there and a miss. 0-1 the count. Megan Johnson, the unheralded one on the staff, stepping up for Coach Richardson and Liberty here.
You're going to see Coach Cindy Malone call timeout to talk to Cody. And I think she's going to tell her, hey, we need to figure out a better way to get our timing and our better rhythm off of Johnson. You know, it's one of those things. Do I start my gather later? Do I crowd the plate? Do I get up in the box? I don't think you go up in the box knowing that she has a pretty significant off speed. But you try to keep that control in the center of your body just a little bit longer while you let that ball travel.
Cody rips one, base hit into left center field. Coming around to score will be Molina. Ball Malone is going to send a runner. It's going to be a 2 RBI hit for Jada Cody, and the Knights lead 3-0.
Well, whatever it is that Coach Cindy Malone told Jada Cody worked, and Cody just able to finally square a ball off of Johnson. And this is exactly what UCF needed to really gain some momentum offensively. A pitch over the outer part of the zone and just peppers it right up the middle in that right center field gap. And of course it comes from that leader in Cody.
That's 10 RBIs already on the season for Cody. Driving in Molina and Macario. Big 2-out hit for Cody, and the Knights lead 3-0. Shannon Doherty now at the plate. And Doherty hits a fly ball to center, but playable. Wilson's there, makes the catch to end the inning. But Jada Cody, the highlight for the Knights, 2 RBI double. Extends the Knights lead to 3-0 through 4 here on ESPN.
And our friend Austin Lyons.
Austin Lyon,
Yeah.
we both know very well. He's taking care of some basketball business there. Helping out B.J. Taylor, among other analysts, Michael Donnell and company. Here in the top of the 5th, the strike by Woodall. The count 0-1 to Barrett. We will lead it off here. Reagan Barrett transferred from Washington. Her uncle was Dane Looker, who played at Washington and in the NFL.
All these players with celebrity family members.
There's a bunt attempt. Woodall hesitated, throw to first. It was airmailed over the head of Molina. Good backup by Shotpocker there to keep Barrett at first base, but the Flames have their leadoff runner on here in the 5th.
Yeah, not something you would normally see from the sure-handed pitcher Woodall, but when you see she goes to make the throw, she does not see Molina right away at first base, so that causes her to hesitate and then make that errant throw.
It's a nice job by Shotpocker backing up the play. If she's not backing up that play, that's some extra bases there.
Yeah, and that's something that they practice all the time in the fall season with cuts and relays, just really running the outfield, going gap to gap, but then at the same time yelling at that off outfielder, make sure you're backing up because of that reason right there.
So Danae Griffin is your pinch hitter here. To hit with runner on and nobody out. You sound like somebody there that had went through those practices way too many times.
Slightly. Those gaps are big out there. And if you're not chasing a ball down on the gap, there's a place that you need to back up, and you better be there, or you'll be on the bench.
Sound like it was made very clear.
Yes, those were the rules, and you better follow them.
0-2 the count. And a piece of it had fouled it off. Does Griffin, hitting it in the 9 spot. And then, of course, you got Canedo coming to the plate. So a good spot here for Liberty to get back in it. Is Coach Richardson looking for the spark. Of course, she's going to be mad that I keep calling her Coach Richardson. She always wants me, Eric, call me Dot.
Dr. Dot.
Dr. Dot, that's
Dr.
right.
Dot.
Ball 1-2 the count. Of course, she spent many years locally broadcasting locally, did high school games and collegiate games. In fact, was on the other booth here for many UCF games that were televised locally before going into coaching and taking over the Liberty program eventually. There's a pitch away there. Dot Richards has literally done it all in softball. It's amazing.
She really has.
Playing, broadcasting, coaching, you name it, she's done it.
And coaching at multiple levels, whether it's high school, travel ball, D1 collegiate, she's done it all. Because she can, right? She's just that good of a person as a coach.
Grounded to short. Macario's going to go to second. They'll get the force. Throw to first. In time, double play. 6-4-3. Knights turn 2.
Those are the kind of plays that UCF needs to continue to make, especially with Kama Woodall in the circle, someone who likes to be lower in the zone, that is able to produce those type of ground balls. And you can see Middle's playing to twist it. Griffin hits that little squibbler, but the quick flip and the twist from Molina allows that sureness of the double play.
Big double play, and that's huge because you got Canedo now at the plate, Liberty's best hitter, arguably, but she's hitting with no one on and 2 outs instead of runners on with maybe no outs or 1 out. I'll tell you, Macario is a freshman, and she hasn't looked like one on the defensive side there.
And I think, too, you could have thought, as a freshman shortstop, maybe I just go to first base because it's a slow developing play. But instead, she makes the right and the smart and the aggressive decision to twist it and go 2. That was something that Coach Richardson had talked about that her team needs to do a little bit better job of, is being more aggressive, being more competitive. Right now she feels like they're playing as a safety net, making the safe choices instead of, go balls out and maybe you'll make a mistake, but then you'll learn from it. Make that competitive mistake so we can get better and we can test our limits.
The swing and a miss, 1-2 the count. How much of that is pressing? You look at Liberty, they finished a great year, the greatest year in program history, top 25, within a whisker, of getting to a super regional. Now you're a year later, you're pressing, got, expectations through the roof. That plays a role in it, doesn't it? As the 1-2 pitch is fouled off.
No doubt about that, but you have to remember the greatness of how that 2021 season ended, but use it as a catapult to roll into this season. Take the greats and just continue to build off of that. If you stay in the shadow of your strengths, then you're really never going to get better. But I love that analogy that she said, we're playing with a safety net and we need to be more competitive and aggressive.
Count remains 1-2. Well, it's a long season, too. And Liberty will be heard from throughout the year. They're going to be the favorites in the A-Sun, Kennesaw State, Trip McKay and company. Of course, Florida Gulf Coast made huge statement last weekend in their tournament. They knocked off Texas. That sent some shockwaves there. Dave Darius, the head coach at Florida Gulf Coast. There's a grounded to third. Cody to first, inning over. We are through 4.5 here in Orlando. Number 24, Malone. It's another challenging weekend. That's part of a tournament where Florida will be here, as well as James Madison and DePaul. DePaul was a Big East team that won the regular season title last year. Of course, James Madison made it to the Women's College World Series last year. And, of course, Oakland also part of that field. As Janisha Rose down in the count 0-2. But Ole Miss, they'll start it off with Ole Miss in that weekend.
Yeah, and when talking to Coach Cindy Ball Malone, you had said, what a schedule you put together. And she kind of chuckled at herself. Like, yeah, I know, I'm crazy, but, you know, in order to be the best, you got to beat the best, and that is what she's setting her team up. She wanted her team in the postseason last year to feel a little bit more prepared. So by putting her team in a position early on in the season with those big matchups, she's hoping that will trickle down when they get back to postseason.
And obviously resumes, RPI, schedule strength, that's all big part of it. I know she wants to host a regional here, which is not easy in this state with Florida and Florida State and those great programs. There's a ground to third, a throw to first. Nice play there by Howard for the first out to retire Rowe.
No, it's not easy for someone like UCF or USF to be able to try to host that regional. If you take a look at Rowe, just puts that down the line and solid play by the third baseman Howard. But that's something that Coach Ball really fights for. She wants her team, she wants her program to earn that right. And she had mentioned that she feels if they can ever host a regional, she's going to feel like, wow, I've really done something so far.
Pitch is low, ball one. 1-0 the count to Bejarano. 2015, UCF came close to hosting the regionals. They were ranked in the top 15 most of that year, went 50-9, led by their 1-2 punch in the circle of Shelby Turnier and Mackenzie Otis. Shelby was a top 10 national player of the year. They had great hitters like Jessica Uvari, Samantha McCloskey, Kayla Novak, Ferris Sullivan. But they were sent to Tallahassee that year to face Florida State. And yeah, I think they feel like they should have hosted that year. Of course, college baseball has had 3 teams in the state of Florida host. And as Bejarano slices one in the left center field, back, and it is off the wall. Maddie Bejarano continues her hot start to the 2022 season with a 1-out double here in the 5th.
Just love seeing this production from the lower half of the lineup for UCF. Right off of the bat, you see Bejarano had so much lag that allowed this ball to continue to travel up against the wall. Love that production from that lower part of that lineup.
Just missed her 2nd home run of the year. Coach Paul Malone has said on a postgame last week that, you know, she set a lot of home run records in the state of Arizona, and yet what she got, when she got here is more of slapping. It's like, let's see that power more. And you could tell she's worked on that, and boy, it's delivered. One of the questions this year would be that left field job. It was kind of wide open here, and Maddie Bejarano has taken a stranglehold there. She's earned getting to that lineup. She's like, I'm going to be in this starting lineup. Had a great game against Minnesota. Hit the solo homer off Autumn Pease, and really has not looked back since. That's the double. Elise Volpe is going to hit here for Griffin. So Elise Volpe, and again, this is something Coach Malone will do. She'll go to the bench, give different looks to a pitcher, especially if she's not happy. There's a throw to second as Bejarano gets back. Especially if she feels that the pitcher's in a rhythm. She's going to try to disrupt that, give him some different looks here. As Volpe hitting for Griffin.
See the catcher Hudson looking at Bejarano taking that big lead. Just kind of keep her in check.
Maddie over at second as that 1-0 is now 2-0 the count to Volpe, who started at the end of last year in left field, especially when Searcy went down with the injury. It was a big part of that late season run there in the NCAA tournament, had a good run, so they got experience with Volpe, can play a lot of different positions, versatility, swings and misses there on 2-0, and it's 2-1.
Let's go.
2-1 pitch. Tried to bunt, missed. Now they go to second, and just getting back is Maddie. There are a couple close plays. As Caroline Hudson, we mentioned she caught every game last year, and caught every game so far this year, and she's good to go.
I mean, Bejarano is being aggressive on the base pass. Her lead is like halfway to third base, expecting that bunt to be down every time, but then has to try to quickly get back.
Ooh, that hit Volpe. That one got away, hit her in the elbow on the 2-2 pitch, and Elise Volpe will get on. 2 on, 1 out here in the 5th.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see Coach Dot Richardson come out and argue this call because it looks like Volpe kind of leaned into it and let her elbow out over the plate. And I could see why they would call timeout to re-look at it, but the ball was coming in. She did not have to get out of the, or she did have to try to get out of the way, but she wasn't intentionally trying to get hit there.
Yeah, and plus that ball had a little extra mustard on that pitch. Yeah, it's easy to say, yeah, get out of a 62, 60, whatever, 3-mile-an-hour pitch. And the 2 on. The strike. Usually when they call it is if it was like an off-speed pitch and then you kind of lean the elbow. That's when they usually sometimes call it. It's like 56, 57 miles an hour as Molina hitting with 2 on, 1 out here in the 5th. Knights lead 3-0. It's outside, ball 1, 1-1 the count. Johnson with action now in the Liberty bullpen. The 1-1. Volpe hits it to third to tag the third for a 1 out. Throw to first. Double play. Inning over. Just like that. As a nice turn there by Howard. 5-3 double play.
Just throw 1 great pitch or 2 great pitches, but 3 strong pitches. But the thing that I've loved to see the most out of Woodall so far is coming up with those big-time pitches and big-time moments. She's had twice where Liberty's had runners in scoring position to where, hey, is this game the momentum's gonna shift? But she's stepped up and has been able to get that big out to keep the momentum on UCF's side. That's what really separates those good pitchers from the great pitchers, is can they come up with that big time out to ensure the win for their team?
Howard hitting here, the 2-3-4 spot for Liberty. Howard here to start it off for in the 6th. Hit 312 last year, but Woodall said after last week in the postgame, this is the happiest she's felt, comfortable. Her teammates welcomed her in when she came over from ECU. And that's a big part of it. You're in a new school, but she loves the school. Loves competing with these girls, have gotten to know her. And it's been a big addition to that pitching staff. We mentioned earlier, Leah White graduated. Obviously you have Gianna Mancha coming back, but there was questions behind her. Youth with Grace Jewell there. Caitlin Felton, the freshman phenom, who was fantastic in her debut against Fresno State on Saturday. But it's huge to have a veteran like Woodall who's been through it all, who's hungry to win. She starts off here with a 4-pitch walk to Howard here. As Liberty gets the opening runner on here in the 6th.
I love how you said hungry to win. You have a lot of youth in that bullpen. That freshman pitcher, Caitlin, had only gave up 2 hits in her starting debut, but you have someone like Kama Woodall who comes with so much experience and wants to win. Hasn't necessarily found that winning program yet. That's why she came to UCF, to be under Cindy Ball Malone's tutelage and to be on a team that can compete, because she is that type of competitor.
Hudson at the plate takes the strike. You mentioned Felton. Felton against Fresno, 6+ innings, giving up just 1 unearned run. Only the 2nd UCF freshman pitcher starter in her debut to go 6+ innings to give up 1 or less runs. Mackenzie Otis, the other one, did it in 2012 in Claremont against Ohio State in the Dot Richardson tournament. How ironic is that? That was 10 years ago.
I mean, how cool are you if you have a tournament named after you while still coaching D1 softball?
Yeah. That's all you need to know about Dot.
I know. Add it to my wish list.
Francesca Anea tournament. We'll have to work on that.
I know. That's a long one.
Yeah. 0-2 the count to Hudson. Her granddad, Richard Hudson, played 6 seasons in the AFL prior to the NFL-AFL merger. Won the AFL championships with the Buffalo Bills in 64 and 65. Played with the Chargers as well. Her sister, Celie Hudson, played softball at Chattanooga, and her mom, Guinea, was a gymnast at Auburn. How about that? So 1-2. Hit to third, off Cody's glove, and everybody's going to be safe. And a good start for Liberty here. Mounting a comeback here in the 6th inning with 2 on and nobody out.
Not something that you normally see from the sureness of Jada Cody. And she gets caught up. She's unsure if she wants to take a step back to get it on the hop or if she wants to smother it and keep the ball in front of her. And that hesitancy allowed the error.
And that's big because that brings up Lou Allen to the plate. The tying run at the plate, probably the hitter that if you're Doc Richardson, you want right now at the plate is Allen. All first team, all Big Ten performer. Coming over from Michigan as a grad transfer. Steps in with 2 on, nobody out. The first pitch is low, 1-0 the count to Allen, who was hit by a pitch in the second and singled in the fourth. And that's got the Knights bullpen up and running. It's an error by Cody is the official score on that. So a walk and an error. And that's low, ball 2. 2-0.
That's a pitch right there that Woodall is used to seeing those swings and misses on. As it looks like Mancha's out there throwing, getting ready in case Coach Malone's going to call her in, but Woodall has to try to bring that ball up just slightly to get that strike.
Allen lines it to first to Doherty, who makes the catch and then tags first for a double play. A pitcher's best friend is the double play. There was no better time if you're Woodall than now.
I love the aggressiveness from Allen right there, going to swing at this ball, but it goes right to the first baseman, Doherty, heads up, being able to step on first base for that double play. That's one of those moments as a pitcher where you just take a breath and you thank goodness that you have a strong first baseman with those quick reactions.
And if you're Hudson, tough. I mean, nothing you could do there. You're just caught in no man's land there. Huge double play. Now runner at second and 2 outs. As now Carly Keeney is at the play. But what a huge play to get Allen out on a double play.
I think that's something too, though, for Liberty, that they need to still see that as a positive. Yes, like you had that opportunity possibly get missed, but you're having a hard out there. So continue to feel those little successes.
Woodall now ahead 0-2. So tough, though. When you're such a slow start 0-4, it seems like the ball doesn't bounce your way, right? So that could kind of throw you off mentally a little bit.
And I think that's why I was harping on that, is because it can be tough to try to find the positives when you feel like nothing's going your way. But this game is so mental that you really need to dig deep and look for those positives. It's a long season. Sometimes when you feel like you're failing, you need to take that step back and really hone in on, like, okay, what is it that we're doing great, instead of just honing in on the bad stuff.
1-2 the count. Is Woodall. Fires, and that's fouled off. It really is, especially as a hitter, right? It's a game of failure. You could be the best hitter and still fail 6 out of 10 times, right? If you could be a 400 hitter and still mean that you failed 6 times.
And when you need a hit so bad, you just feel like you're consistently hitting it right at people versus when you're just getting all these hits and then you find those little bloopers that fall in. The game always pays you back in some way. You gotta respect it.
1-2 is right back to Woodall. She'll throw to first, side retired. Woodall gets out of trouble and maintains that 3-run lead. And she fires up her defense. Made some great plays, as well as on the ESPN app. Of course, you can head out to the stadium. It'll be packed there at Eddie C. Moore Stadium. UCF will take on Wisconsin, 1 o'clock on ESPNU. Tiffany Green and Madison Shipman will have the call in that one. They'll take on Michigan at 3 o'clock on ESPN+. Texas Tech at 6 o'clock on ESPN+ on Friday. Michigan ranked 16th. And then, of course, Tennessee on Saturday at 10:30 in the morning. Drew Carter and Jenny Dalton-Hill will have the call of those games. UCF and Texas, number 9 ranked Texas, Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Beth Mowins, Michelle Smith, Amanda Scarborough on the call. That one, and UCF will wrap it up against Florida State, ranked 6th in the country. 12:30, Tiffany Green, Madison Shipman on the call on that one. Shout outs to Mike Cousins, Caleb Bro will also be calling games that during the tournament, as well as Mark Neely and Danielle Laurie will be calling games.
Star-studded event right there.
That's unbelievable. I still can't believe. Are you sure that's not Oklahoma City?
Seriously.
Wow. 12 of the 16 teams in that field are ranked in the top 25. And UCF is a part of it. First time. It'll be a good showcase for them. Because I think everybody, softball fans, going to be tuning in some capacity, either in person or on the ESPN, on the linear channels, on the app, you name it. It's going to be all over the place. As there's a strike three looking as a strikeout of Macario here, first out by Megan Johnson, who's been pretty impressive here and out of the relief.
Yeah, Johnson has just come in, has been so effective with that changeup, mixing in with that off speed. See how she throws that on the side of her body. UCF just cannot get the timing. Really, the biggest hit came from Jada Cody early on, and then Maddie Bajarana in last inning. But other than that, Johnson has been extremely effective.
Shotpocker now at the plate. Take a strike. So many storylines, obviously, from Clearwater for those teams we talked about. High profile. UCLA, of course, beginning life without Rachel Garcia, Bubba Nichols. Tennessee adding Erin Edmondson alongside Ashley Rogers and that staff. Texas adding Haley Docini from Fresno State, as well as Lou Gilbert from Baylor. They're stacked, Mike White and company. Michigan, of course, Megan Bobian, Alex Taraco and company for Carol Hutchins and the Wolverines, just among many great storylines there. Even Texas Tech, Sammy Ward, she goes way back with Coach Paul Malone. That'll be a matchup, Texas Tech UCF on Friday. Of course, you've hung out with all those people I mentioned are broadcasting. Shipman, Bro, right? You're all inner circle there.
I don't know about inner circle.
They all, I've talked to them all. Like Scarborough's like, hey, send my best to Fran. Everybody's always asking about you.
Well, we hang in there together.
That's a base hit to left by Shotpocker. Vintage Denali Shotpocker. And it's a one-out single for Shop.
Shotpocker picking up her teammate Macario and being able to let this ball travel deep enough to get Kennedy Searcy and potentially Jada Cody another at-bat in this game. I kind of want to go back to what you said about that little inner circle is, we were all players that, competed against one another. Danielle Laurie and I played against national championship. But now we get to call this sport that we love so much and talk about it. And just like you had your own teammates, we see ourselves as teammates and we rely on one another. We'll send notes to one another, like, hey, have you covered this team? Let me send you some notes. So that companionship never stops, even if you competed against each other in college.
Searcy slices a base hit into left center field. And UCF threatening here in the sixth. 2 on, 1 out on a single by Kennedy Searcy.
And this is the hardest hit ball that we have seen so far from Kennedy Searcy. We mentioned that she's lost a bit of her explosiveness coming back from that ACL injury. But right there, she gets a ball right in her wheelhouse and is able to drive with that back leg and her hands to find that gap.
She's going to get pinch run for here. As the Knights have 2 on, 1 out with Cody coming to the plate. Katie Burge will pinch run. And now Cody will come to the plate. Yeah, I recorded an interview with Danielle Laurie that's going to air on my In the Circle podcast this week. Talk about her coming broadcasting in Clearwater. The first thing she tells me is like, how's Fran doing? And make sure you give her a hug for me. That was the first thing.
I think this job is not easy, and it takes a lot of research and takes a lot of practice. And when you can have people who are cheering you on and championing you, I think that's very, very important to have. And I know I love listening to Scarborough and Danielle. It's going to be so great to hear Danielle back in the booth. Madison Shipman, Kayla Bro, my girl Tiffany Green. Her and I came up together starting with high school. So anytime I get a moment to sit down and listen to my people talk the sport I love, I feel so blessed.
Cody hits one to left. The catch is made by Canedo. Big second out there as Cody flies out to left for the second out of the inning.
And we're starting to see UCF really barrel up some balls for Megan Johnson. It's been a couple innings coming, but this one hit very hard from Cody, but right at Canedo and left.
Shannon Doherty coming to the play. The great thing about, you mentioned all the great broadcasts there this weekend in Clearwater, is that we're seeing broadcasts of softball in February. It used to be they wouldn't show softball until May in the World Series as Doherty hits it to third. They'll touch the bag at third to end the inning. But now today in 2022, we have softball all over the place year-round, like tonight. Knights up 3. We head to the 7th on ESPN+.
You talk about effectiveness and efficiency. That's Kama Woodall tonight, folks. You mentioned it, 1 pitch, 1 out. Just being able to place that ball to get row to bait on that.
So they get Rupe out.
Rupe, sorry, I didn't flip over my scorebook.
They're moving too fast for us. First pitch there is a ball. In fact, we've hit just over the 2-hour mark of the game. Here in the 7th. Knights with a 3-0 lead, trying to improve to 4-1. Casey Machado, the pinch hitter. I want to give a shout out to Joe Carmody, the SID for Liberty, who's done a heck of a job. He's been sending us notes the last couple days. Set us up a chat to Dot.
Sent us some real great notes, some great stats, situationals. Always love those SIDs.
Contrary to opinion, I didn't know all those facts on Caroline Hudson on my own. Joe kind of fed that to me.
I know. I always feel like a Steeler anytime a stats person sends me a note. I feel like I need to credit the source.
That's right. Ken Landis, the SID UCF, feeding me stuff like the attendance numbers on opening night. Largest crowd for an opener UCF softball history. That is inside. 1,093, third largest in program history against Georgia. Won't be the last time we'll be talking about those attendance records. A couple weeks, UCF will host Florida. That usually gets right around that mark. There's Woodall. Delivers, and Machado with a 1-out single. So the Flames trying to make a late rally here in the 7th, not going out quietly.
I always say one of the hardest things to do in their sport is to come cold off of the bench and be that pinch hitter, to do something that your teammates haven't been able to do. And Machado's able to deliver that strong single late in this game, trying to spark a little bit of a comeback.
So 1-on-1 out here in the 7th. Now Barrett was the scheduled hitter. But it looks like it'll be Riley Green will hit. So Riley Green will get a chance to hit here for the Flames, off to a good start. And that's going to be it for Woodall, as Coach Paul Malone will go to the bullpen and bring on Gianna Mancha. We'll tell you more about that when we return. We're in the top of the 7th. Knights leading 3-0. You're watching the American on ESPN+.
They found me. Nice suits. You guys blend right in.
The world needs you back.
I'm retired, Greg. You know this.
People have their money just sitting around doing nothing.
That's bad. They shouldn't do that.
They're getting crushed by inflation.
Well, I feel for them.
They're taking financial advice from memes.
I'll get my onesies.
Good to have you back, old friend.
Yeah, eyes on the road, Benny.
Welcome to a new chapter in investing. E-Trade, now from Morgan Stanley. Smart doesn't always look the same. There's this kind of smart. Scary smart.
K to less means street smart.
Yep, that counts too. Not graceful, but still smart. At Capella University, your education is the kind of smart that keeps up with you.
But what if something pops up?
It's smart enough so you can adjust.
And if I want to move faster?
With FlexPath, you can earn your master's degree in 14 months for $14,000.
That's the kind of smart I like.
Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
New pitcher for the Knights to close it out, Gianna Mancha coming in relief.
Yeah, I mean, this is someone that you knew coming into this season she was going to be the go-to, that #1 pitcher. She's had the majority of the innings so far in this young season, but she's someone that throws 3 different speeds. So a little different than with Kama Woodall, who goes mainly down. Obviously, we've seen some up, but you're going to see Mancha throw down. She has a curve and a screw that complements that well, and her rise is slow and spinny to produces a lot of swings and misses.
First pitch is strike, 0-1 the count to Green. Yeah, Coach Bubble loves the fact, feels that Mancha and Wood are a good complement to each other because they are so different, so it gives you different looks. Of course, Mancha picked up the win against Longwood on Saturday night, her 21st career win as a Knight. And one of the roles when you're the ace is your name may get called to close out a game like tonight.
And exactly, and she just always needs to trust her corners. That is the biggest thing that Mancha tells herself is when I try to do too much, I expand my zone too much.
A swing and a miss, and Mancha had 1-2. She had a no decision on opening night against Georgia. Numbers didn't look great on the box score, but you like how she threw the hitter. It's just one of those things. Georgia has so much power, 1-9. You're going to give up some numbers against Georgia. It doesn't mean you didn't pitch well. And she pitched well there. She gets the strikeout of Green for the second out of the inning. The Knights are an out away from their 4th win of the year.
Yeah, and you ask yourself, what does success look like when you go up against a high-caliber team? This is a strong pitch, one that she's able to really throw out of the zone, something that she couldn't do against Georgia because those hitters are a little bit more disciplined. But you learn from those moments, and you are able to expose them in a game like today.
Paige Bachman will pinch hit here in the 9 spot. Coach Richardson trying to get one more base runner on for Liberty because that would bring the tying run to the plate, and that would be Canedo, their leading hitter from last year. So Dot trying to press the buttons here late, down 3. Mancha. First pitch, ball 1, 1-0 the count. Want to know the count. Of course, Mancha has a ton of experience coming in and closing games out. Going back to her days at Boise State. First was recruited by Coach Paul Malone. They've known each other since 8th grade. Gianna joked that, Coach Paul Malone's like a second mom. That's what her mom, Rachel, kind of refers to Coach Bear. The 1-1 up and in, 2-1. That gets away, and that's going to allow Crane to go to second and get into scoring position with a 2-1 count to Bachman.
This pitch just going to get away from Mancha. And it's always hard as a catcher. You've been catching Cama Woodall the last 6 innings, and now you bring in a completely different look, different arm. It's different than just the bullpen. You're talking about game mode.
A swing and a miss. And the count is 2-2, and the Knights now a strike away. Of course, Mancha led Boise State and Coach Paul Malone that 2018 Mountain West Championship. Coach Paul Malone came to UCF here in 19. She led Boise State to the regional final against Florida in 19. Of course, came to UCF afterwards. And that one just missed outside, 3-2 the count. Of course, helped alongside Aaliyah White get the Knights back to the tournament last year in 2021. Made it all the way to the Tallahassee Regional Final. This group, they have bigger goals, bigger dreams. Oklahoma City is where they want to take this program to. As Mancha delivers. Up high, ball 4, and Bachman gets a good at-bat and draws the walk, and that brings the tying run to the plate here for Liberty in the 7th in Canedo.
Making it a little bit interesting here with Liberty, and that's a strong at-bat from that pinch hitter Bachman. She swung and missed on that pitch previously, but then was disciplined enough to take it, putting pressure on UCF, trying to force them to close this out.
Well, again, Liberty, we know they're going to be good. They're going to be fine moving forward. They were a top 25 preseason poll, made it to the regional final in Knoxville, lost to JMU. Remember that opening game of that regional win extra innings. If Liberty wins that, we might have been talking about Liberty in Oklahoma City. That's how good they were. Young talent. They're still the heavy favorites in the A-Sun Conference, which will be in Jacksonville this year.
Now batting, left field number 10, Kara Canedo.
With talented players like Canedo, who's at the plate. A-Sun first-team all-member, 385 last year. Steps in as the tying run. As Mancha takes ball one.
Go,
1-0 the count. Knights up 3-0, but Liberty threatening here. 2 on, 2 out. The 1-0. Away and 2-0. Right now, Mancha's not getting that outside corner pitch.
You know, it was something that I talked about earlier on, is that sometimes she tries to do too much and expand that zone when she needs to really trust those corners and get those for sure strikes. She's pitching, 2 strike pitches when she really needs to be throwing that 1 strike.
That's hit to short. Macario will go to third for the force out, and the game ends as the number 24 ranked UCF Knights defeat the Liberty Flames 3-0, the final score. 3 runs, 6 hits, 3 errors for the Knights, no runs, 3 hits, 1 error for Liberty, as Coach Bear, Cindy Baltimore, picks up her 100th win at UCF tonight against the legendary Dot Richardson, who you see there, the handshake there. Not an easy win, but the Knights get the victory to prove to 4-1. Woodall picks up her 2nd win of the year. Mancha gets her first save. Great performance again for the Knights here now. Good way to start off the week, as they got a busy week going to Clearwater.
Yeah, and I think you look at this game and you have that strong performance from Woodall in the circle. Mancha being able to close it out. But again, strong offense from Jada Cody, who we're always looking towards. But I love the production from Maddie Bajarano with that double. So all in all, just a great outing for UCF.
So our final score from Orlando, UCF 3, Liberty nothing for Francesca and Ann. I'm Eric Lopez. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN. So long from Orlando. Knights win 3-0.